The baseball world is currently standing on the edge of a localized earthquake, and the epicenter is a soft-spoken, sweet-swinging outfielder named Kyle Tucker. For months, we have been doing this dance. We've been checking the flight trackers, we've been analyzing every cryptic tweet, and we've been wondering when the King of Houston would finally find his new throne. Well, folks, the wait is almost over. The Kyle Tucker song and dance is reaching its final crescendo. And according to the most trusted voices in the industry, the ending is going to be explosive. Ken Rosenthal, a man who doesn't just report news but practically breathes it before it happens, is signaling that we are in the endgame. Based on everything Ken is hearing from his army of sources and industry insiders, the finish line is right in front of us. He's gone on the record saying he wouldn't be surprised if the ink is dry this week, next week, or sometime very soon. We are in any second now territory, and the tension in the front offices of the New York Mets, the Toronto Blue Jays, and the Los Angeles Dodgers is thick enough to cut with a steak knife. Let's set the stage for this heavyweight bout. We have 3 confirmed Titans in the ring. No Yankees at least not yet. No mystery team has jumped out of the bushes to steal the show. Though in baseball, you never say never until the physical is passed. But right now, it's a 3-way war between Steve Cohen's checkbook in Queens, the national aspirations of the Toronto Blue Jays, and the perennial championship machine that is, the Los Angeles Dodgers. The news cycle went into a full-blown meltdown this Tuesday when the New York Mets decided to stop playing games and start throwing haymakers. John Heyman, the man who is always at the center of the storm, reported that the Mets have officially put a staggering offer on the table, $50 million per year. Let that sink in for a second. $50 million a year. When that number first hit the internet, the skeptics came out in droves. They called it fake news. They called it agent posturing. But then, Robert Murray from Fanside Man Who Doesn't misconfirmed it. The offer is real. The $50 million per season carrot is dangling right in front of Kyle Tucker's nose. But here is where the plot thickens, and where we have to start looking at the fine print that isn't even public yet. This Mets offer is being framed as a short-term high marginal value AAV play. We're talking about a potential 3-year, $150 million deal. It's the David Stearns special. It's a way for the Mets to get the best player on the market without tethering themselves to a decade-long commitment that could turn into an albatross in 2032. However, the big mystery, the one that has every analyst scratching their heads, the opt-out situation. Does Tucker have the right to walk away after every single season? Is it like the Alex Bregman model, or is he locked in for the full 3 years? This isn't just a minor detail. It's the entire hinge upon which this door swings. If there are no opt-outs, Kyle Tucker is taking a massive gamble on himself. He would be re-entering the market heading into his age 32 season. Think about that. At 32, teams start looking at your hamstrings a little differently. They start looking at your sprint speed with a magnifying glass. He would be chasing the massive long-term security he could have had right now. And that brings us to the Great White North. While the Mets are trying to lure Tucker with a short-term mountain of cash, the Toronto Blue Jays are reportedly preparing a life-changing generational vault of gold. Jesse Rogers from ESPN has confirmed that the Blue Jays have made a long-term offer. We don't have the exact number yet, but the whispers are getting louder. Back in December, Alden Gonzalez mentioned that if there was one team willing to go to the $400 million mark, the holy grail of Tucker's free agency, it was Toronto. Why Toronto? Because they are desperate, they are aggressive, and they have the room. They have over $100 million coming off the books next year. They are already the highest spending team this offseason, being the only club to cross the $300 million threshold in free agency. They aren't just looking for a player, they are looking for a statement. They want to prove that the Rogers Center is the place where superstars come to become icons. If the DJs are offering $350 million to $425 million over 8 to 10 years, the math starts to look very different than the Mets' $150 million. Now, let's talk about the psychology of the player. There's been this narrative that Kyle Tucker doesn't want to go to Canada. People assume he wants the bright lights of New York or the palm trees of LA. But Robert Murray dropped a truth bomb on his podcast recently. Tucker is just as interested in the Blue Jays as they are in him. This is a massive takeaway that the mainstream media seems to be ignoring. If the interest is mutual and the money is double or triple the total guarantee, Why on earth would he take a short-term deal in New York? Let's break down the short-term versus long-term debate because this is where the real strategy of baseball business lives. Some fans argue that taking $50 million a year for 3 years is better because you can double dip. If you take the $150 million, then you sign another $200 million deal at 32. But that assumes everything goes perfectly. It assumes Tucker stays healthy. It assumes he doesn't have a down year where his exit velocity drops or his barrel rate falls off a cliff. If you take the $400 million from Toronto right now, you are insured against catastrophe. If you tear an ACL in year 2 of a 10-year deal, you still get your $400 million. If you take the Mets deal and tear your ACL in year 3, you are entering the market as a 32-year-old coming off a major surgery. You'll be lucky to get a 1-year prove-it deal. You would be chasing the money you already had on the table. It's the bird in the hand versus 2 in the bush. Except the bird in the hand is a golden eagle worth $400 million. And then there's the CBA factor. The collective bargaining agreement is the invisible hand that moves the market. We have a new CBA coming in 2027. We have another one likely in 2031 right now. The financial structure of the league is in a state of flux. Regional sports networks are collapsing. There's talk of salary caps, salary floors, and revenue sharing changes. If I'm Kyle Tucker, I want a contract that is grandfathered in under the current rules. I want a deal that says I get paid no matter what happens in the boardroom. A long-term deal provides that shield. A short-term deal leaves you exposed to whatever new financial reality the owners and the union cook up 3 years from now. I've seen people bring up Alex Bregman and Pete Alonso as examples of guys who took shorter deals and came out on top. But let's be real, those situations are not comparable. Bregman and Alonso took shorter deals because the $400 million offers weren't there. They were being low. They took the short-term money as a bridge because they had no other choice. Kyle Tucker is a different animal. He is a premier 5-tool superstar in his absolute prime. He shouldn't be bridging anything. He should be building a kingdom now. We have to address the elephant in the room, the Los Angeles Dodgers. They are the silent assassins in this story. While the Mets and Jays are leaking numbers and making headlines, the Dodgers are lurking. We know they've met with him. We know they have the money. And we know they have something the other two teams can't guarantee. A championship-ready machine. If the Mets and the Dodgers both offer the same short-term deal, let's say $150 million over 3 years, where is Tucker going? I'm sorry to my Mets fans out there, and I promise I'm not bashing the team, but you have to look at this objectively. The Mets are in a state of flux. They are under new management, they are trying to find their identity, and nobody knows what that roster will look like in 24 months. The Dodgers, they are the gold standard. They are going to win 95 to 100 games every single year. They are going to be in the NLCS or the World Series almost every October. If the money is equal, you take the certainty. You take the team that gives you a ring. The only way the Mets win this battle is if they blow the Dodgers out of the water financially, or if they offer those player-friendly opt-outs that allow Tucker to treat New York like a high-priced pit stop. But let's look at the Blue Jays again. Because they are the ones who can actually offer the best of both worlds. They have a core that is ready to win. They have a fan base that is starving for a superstar to call their own. And they have the financial backing of a national telecommunications giant. If the Jays offer $400 million, they aren't just buying a right fielder. They are buying the next decade of Canadian baseball relevance. I've seen the comments on social media. People like Leo Montanaro are saying that Tucker could take the $50 million, opt out next year, and then sign a $400 million deal in a terrible free agent class next year. But that logic is flawed. If he's the #1 free agent this year, and he's the #1 free agent next year, the market doesn't magically double. The same teams, the Mets, JJs, Dodgers, and Yankees will be the ones bidding. Why wait a year and risk an injury just to end up in the same room with the same people? It makes no sense. You get the deal done when the iron is hot, and right now, the iron is melting. We are seeing a public display of negotiation like never before. When these numbers leak the $50 million from the Mets, the long-term interest from the Jaysites often coming from the agent's side. Why? To drive the price up. To get the Dodgers to stop being silent and start being expensive. To get the Blue Jays to add that 10th year or that extra $25 million. It's a game of high-stakes poker. And Kyle Tucker is holding a royal flush. As we sit here today, recording this, it feels like the walls are closing in. The offers are on the table. The meetings are finished. The rubber meets the road. Time has arrived. I suspect that within the next 7 days, we will see a press conference that shifts the balance of power in either the National or American League. If he goes to the Mets, it's a sign that Steve Cohen is willing to pay any price for immediate relevance. If he goes to the Blue Jays, it's a sign that Toronto is ready to become the new powerhouse of the AL East. And if he goes to the Dodgers, well, then the rest of the league might as well start planning for 2026, because that lineup would be illegal in 48 states. My final take? You follow the money, but you also follow the security. If the Blue Jays have $350 million or more on the table, Kyle Tucker would be insane to turn it down for a 3-year gamble in New York. You take the generational wealth. You take the insurance against injury. You take the chance to be a legend in a city that will build you a statue. But hey, that's just my perspective from the outside looking in. I want to know what you think. Is the $50 million AAV from the Mets too good to pass up? Or is the $400 million total guarantee from the Blue Jays the only logical choice? Does he care about the state of flux in Queens? Or is he just looking for the biggest pile of cash possible? And don't forget the Dodgers are. They're going to swoop in and steal him at the buzzer. Leave your comments down below. I read every single one of them, and I want to know where you think Tucker lands is. IT Toronto. Is it New York? Is it New York? Is it... Give me your predictions. Asterisk. Let's dive deeper into the Mets factor. To understand why $50 million a year is even being discussed, have to understand the psyche of Steve Cohen. This isn't just about baseball. It's about a billionaire who views the Mets as a personal mission. When Cohen bought the team, he promised a championship within 5 years. We are hitting that window, and the pressure is mounting. But David Stearns, the president of baseball operations, is a different kind of architect. He comes from the Milwaukee Brewers school of thought: efficiency, sustainability, and avoiding the bad contract. This creates a fascinating tension in the Mets front office. The $50 million offer is a Stearns compromise. It's Cohen's money used in a Stearns way. By offering a massive AAV over a short period, they satisfy the urge to land a superstar while protecting the long-term health of the payroll. But does Kyle Tucker want to be a compromise? Superstars of his caliber usually want to be the man for a decade. They want to know where their kids are going to go to school for the next 10 years. They want to build a legacy in one uniform. Taking a 3-year deal in New York feels like being a mercenary. It's a business trip. And while $50 million a year buys a lot of luxury, it doesn't buy the peace of mind that a 10-year deal provides. Now let's pivot back to Toronto. The Blue Jays are in a fascinating position because they are representing an entire country. When you play for the Jays, you aren't just playing for a city. You have the weight and the support of 38 million people behind you. That kind of marketing potential is astronomical. If Kyle Tucker signs a $400 million deal in Toronto, he becomes the face of Canadian sports. The endorsements, the off-field opportunities, the sheer scale of his brand would explode. And let's look at the Rogers Center renovations. They've spent hundreds of millions of dollars turning that stadium into a modern marvel. They didn't do that to host a mediocre team. They did that to house a champion. Signing Tucker is the final piece of that puzzle. It's the signal to the rest of the league that the Blue Jays are no longer the little brother of the AL East. They are ready to go toe-to-toe with the Yankees and the Red Sox. And they have the bankroll to do it. But what about the Dodgers? We keep coming back to them because they are the bogeyman of MLB. Every time a big free agent is available, the Dodgers are there, lurking in the shadows. Their strategy is different. They don't usually leak their offers. They don't do their negotiating through the press. They operate with a cold, calculated precision. The Dodgers' pitch to Tucker isn't just about money, it's about immortality. They can point to their trophy case, their development system, and their roster of future Hall of Famers and say, if you come here, you will win, period. For a player like Tucker, who has already tasted success in Houston, the allure of a sustained winning culture might be more important than an extra $5 million in AAV. However, the Dodgers are also masters of the deferred money game. We saw it with Shohei Ohtani. Could they offer Tucker a deal that looks smaller on paper but is structured in a way that provides him wealth for the next 40 years? It's a possibility that would make the Mets and Jays look like they're playing checkers while the Dodgers are playing 4D chess. Let's talk about the mystery team. For a moment, even though the big three are the front-runners, we can't ignore the possibility of a late entrant. Could the Chicago Cubs suddenly decide they need a superstar to ignite the North Side? Could the San Francisco Giants, after being bridesmaids in so many free agent battles, finally decide to overpay enough to land their guy? Or what about the Texas Rangers? They've shown a willingness to spend big in the past, while the reports say it's down to 3. The ink-drying comment from Rosenthal is key. Until that pen hits the paper, every GM in the league is just one phone call away from changing the landscape. But based on the current heat, it's hard to see anyone outbidding the Mets AAV or the Jays. Total guarantee. Let's look at the stats that are driving this price tag. Kyle Tucker isn't just a good player, he's a statistical unicorn. He's a 32-30 threat every time he steps on the field. He's a Gold Glove caliber defender. He has an elite eye at the plate, rarely strikes out, and hits for power to all fields. In an era where 3 true outcomes, home run, walk, or strikeout, dominate the game, Tucker is a throwback. He puts the ball in play, he runs the bases with intelligence. And he shows up in big moments. When teams look at his underlying metrics, his barrel percentage, his hard hit rate, his expected slugging, they see a player who is actually underperforming his potential. That is a terrifying thought for opposing pitchers. If you're a GM, you aren't just paying for what he's done. You're paying for the fact that he might have another gear. You're paying for the peak years of a player who could arguably be the best all-around outfielder in the game, not named Aaron Judge. This brings us back to the fan reaction. I've seen some fans saying, no player is worth $50 million a year. To that I say, look at the revenues. Baseball is a multi-billion-dollar industry. The TV deals, the gambling partnerships, the ticket prices, it's all skyrocketing. The players are the product. Without Kyle Tucker, the Mets are just a collection of guys in orange and blue. With him, they are a destination. They are must-see TV. The value of a superstar isn't just in the home runs he hits, it's in the jerseys he sells, the excitement he generates, and the fear he puts into the hearts of the opposition. If Kyle Tucker leads the Blue Jays to a World Series, is $400 million too much? Ask the people of Toronto in 20 years. They'll tell you he was a bargain. Let's talk about the pressure on the agents. This is a legacy-defining negotiation for Tucker's representation. They know the market is shifting. They know the CBA is a looming shadow. Their job is to extract every single penny of value while ensuring their client is in a position to succeed. If they advise him to take the short-term Mets deal, they are betting on his health. If they advise him to take the long-term DJ's deal, they are betting on the stability of the franchise. It's a chess match where the pieces are worth millions of dollars. Every leak to the press, every confirmed meeting, every whispered rumor is a move on the board. And right now, the board is looking very favorable for the player. I want to take a moment to address the state of flux comment regarding the Mets again. Some fans took offense to that, but let's look at the facts. Over the last few years, the Mets have cycled through managers, GMs, and philosophies. They've had high-priced veterans who didn't pan out and young players who struggled to find their footing. While Steve Cohen has the best intentions, the culture of winning isn't something you can just buy overnight. It takes time. The Blue Jays, for all their struggles in the playoffs, have a consistent identity. They have a core that has grown up together. They have a clear vision of who they are. And the Dodgers, well, they are the culture. When a player walks into that clubhouse, they know exactly what is expected of them.